Hello there. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to arrow function. What is an arrow function? An arrow function expression has a shorter syntax than a normal function. And also with an arrow function, the expression does not have its own argument. You can usually identify an arrow function with this symbol, and this symbol basically is used to substitute the return expression in a normal function. So if you're writing a normal function, after the parentheses you will have these curly braces, and in between the curly braces you will have a return expression. With an arrow function, you just use this symbol, and that will be equivalent to this return expression. It always makes more sense to show you an illustration. So I'm going to show you an illustration of how the arrow function works. To illustrate how the arrow function works, I'm going to use the console within the developer tools inside your web browser. So I'm going to go to a blank page. So if you type in inside your address bar of your web browser, type in about : blank, press enter, and that will give you this blank page. So right click and go inspect, and then click on console. If the console also allows you to write multiple lines of code, to do that you hold down the shift key and press enter on your keyboard to create multiple lines. That will allow you to write multiple lines of code. So I'm going to start by creating a variable, and I'm going to call this variable animals, and I'm going to set this to equals to an array. So with an array, you always have to place an array in between square brackets. So I'm going to put my mouse in between, hold down the shift key, press enter to create some space. In between the square brackets, I'm going to add the various elements of the array. So I'm going to add the various animals I want listed. So I'll start with an elephant. You always have to put a comma in the elements of an array. The only way you don't put a comma is the last element. So you do just put your mouse over the next line, and the next animal I'm going to say a lion. So I put a comma after the lion and move my mouse here, and the next I will go for a giraffe, and then the next I will go for a crocodile. Crocodile. I think that's how you spell it. Crocodile. Yeah. And I'll go for one more. I'll go for a bear. And in this last one, I don't need to put a comma. All right. But I need to put a semicolon. After that, put a semicolon there. Okay, and then next, now that I have defined this variable, set it to equals to an array, I'm just going to hold down shift, create some space here. Next thing I want to do is console.log some information. I want to use the console to log some information, and I'm going to use the length property so that in the console it will display each of the length of the characters of each element in an array. So to do that, type in console.log and inside the parentheses I'm going to pass in the variable name animals dot map. The map is a method that creates a new array with the results of calling a function for every array element. So what this map method will do, it calls the provided function or variable once for each element in the array. Okay, so the map will enable me to call each of this element. So once it's done that, then I can now use the arrow function. I use the arrow function to reference the length property of the array. So I'll do animals dot length. The length property of an array basically returns the length of an array, that is the number of array elements. All right, so that's it. So if I press enter, okay, I have got an error, unexpected token. Let me see what I've done wrong here. Okay, I can see I left out another reference of the variable. So to go back to your previous code, you just use the up arrow and that will give you the code again. So what I needed to do here, after the animals.map, I need to put parentheses there and then enter an animals, then the arrow function, then the animals.length. That should work now. If I press enter, you can see here it has given me this output here. So this is the result. So it tells me there are 5 elements in the array. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The length of the first one is 5. The length of the 5 elements in the array. Length of the elements in the array. First one is 8. Second one is 4. Next one is 7, and so on. So if you want to see, just click on this button here and that will give more information. Tells you these are the indexes in the array. So the array are 0 based, which means the first element is a 0 followed by 1, 2, 3, and so on. So the first element is the elephant, which has a character length of 8. The first one is the lion, character length of 4, and 2, second index is 7, and 3 is 9, and so on. So that's basically how you use an arrow function. Thanks for watching and bye for now.